So do you have any questions, Emma?
I mean, it's all in the. I mean, it's all in the program brochure, right?
It is, and you know what? I'd be happy to email all of you the syllabus. Because I'm not sure if that's in there.
That would
Let
be
me just
awesome.
write your names down really quickly and I'll make sure that I email you as well. Hey, Emily, can you help me out? My TAs, can you just write down everyone's name for me? These guys are the best. Jordan, just write down everyone's name and then you could share it with me later. Rhea, do you have any questions? All right, good. And
I have another question.
oh, sure. Thanks, Heaven.
Um, so like, can you break down like what isn't like
What?
like what isn't covered besides like
Yes.
initial
So,
payment we're doing?
so really the only thing that's not covered are some of the meals. And if you decided to buy any souvenirs. The other thing that might not be covered would be if we fly out of New York City. So if you live in upstate New York and you've got to get to New York City, then that would be a cost. But if you live in New York City, then that's fine. I've had students who live up in the upstate. Sometimes they drive to the airport. Sometimes they will add that extra flight, but if you add that extra flight, that is an extra cost. There's no, you don't need any extra. I mean, you need your ID, but you don't need a passport. Normally that's an extra fee that's included. One thing that we also do include is insurance. So for some reason you wound up in a hospital or something, it's not happening this year, then that is also covered. So in terms of the meals, you have to think there may be some dinners that aren't covered, but usually we figure a way to add in a few. So if I had to estimate, over the years, I've had students who are super frugal where they only spend an extra $150. Then I have students who go wild on buying souvenirs and they're spending an extra $600 because they're spending like $300 on souvenirs. Look, it's fun to buy something, but you don't have to. So that would be, I would say, probably an extra $150. Also knowing that we're going to be in the States, we're not going to be in Europe, which is a bit more expensive. So that kind of answers the question, I think. Yeah. But do you live, where do you live? Are you in the New York City area?
Yeah, I'm from Brooklyn.
Okay, so right, so you wouldn't have any additional cost getting to the airport. Yeah, does that answer your question? Yeah. Jessica?
I just wanted to say I'm not sure what's going to happen in the spring, but I fly a lot and I fly into JFK from here a lot. And my dad has someone who works with JetBlue. I'm not sure what it's going to be like next year, but I'm pretty sure there was a policy that was supposed to go out this October where you're supposed to travel with your passport from now on, even if it is in the United States. So depending on if that changes, like in the new year, we're probably going to need passports, but I just figured I'd just put that out there because that's
I
something that
thought
I
that it
know
was
about.
like to have a real ID, not necessarily like a
That
passport, but like.
Yeah, so I can speak on that. I did do some research on that because I also had heard about that new regulation. They're actually postponing that to October 2021. So we won't need to worry about it for this term, but if we were to travel next 2020, spring of 2022, then we would need to worry about it then. So it should be okay for this May.
Good. That saves us $145 that we can use on food. But all the, Evan, in terms of everything you do, like taking the train, the bike ride, the Native Museum, the walking tour, the whitewater trip, the Arctic Circle, all that's included in the 3,000, including your hotels. And the way the hotels work are, you always have a breakfast included. And so you have this like big, bountiful breakfast. So typically we tend to eat a really big breakfast and then we have kind of a light lunch and then we'll have dinner somewhere. And dinner, it really depends on dinner, but dinner might be say $30. And that's where I'm coming up with the figure of about $150 extra for food. And it might be less too. That's what I'm thinking. I just remember years past, I had students who were really on a tight budget, and they were in London, they were able to keep it under $150. Yeah, but good question. These are all really good questions. And these are the things you have to think about when you're going to make the trip. It is really fun to go with a group too. That's a fun part. And the way the housing works, once we know who is going on the trip, the 15 people going on the trip, and actually, you know what, maybe I'll round it up to 16, Megan, because then I have an even number. Then once we meet that first time in class, I ask you first, if you're traveling with a friend, that's the first priority. We put friends together. And then if you don't know anybody on the trip, then we match people up, and that's your roommate, and you're their roommate for the trip. Because all the hotels, usually we put everyone in doubles. So you have your own bed, of course, and then you share a bathroom. And the hotels are usually pretty nice. Especially, I really want to stay at that first one, the Anchorage, that nice Anchorage hotel. It's not too crazy, but it looks nice. Yeah, I'm flying into Anchorage. I remember this from years ago, and it's such an amazing moment. And you see these majestic, huge mountains, and you're out in the middle of nowhere. I really should show the map of Alaska, but can you do me a favor, Emily? Can you find me a map of Alaska, and then you'll share the screen? I'll make Jordan do something next. But anyway, when you really look at how separate Alaska is from the rest of the 50 states, and it's so vast, and it really is our last frontier. And I love Norway, I love Scandinavia, and I think this comes pretty close because there just aren't a lot of people out there. So it's a pretty special place, and it's not a place that you're going to go necessarily on your own. I mean, maybe one day you'll go with your grandma on like a cruise ship to Alaska, right? But for now, I shouldn't talk about that. Anyway, but for now, I think this is probably a better option than getting on a cruise ship.
Do you want me to share my screen with the map?
Yes, could you? Thank you. Right. So you see how vast this place is. And so we will fly into Anchorage, and then we're going to be going up toward Denali, where there's a little straight due north is where Denali is, and then from there we go up to Fairbanks, and then from there we go up to the Arctic Circle. So we are covering some miles, which also makes this trip, I think, really exciting. We're not just staying in one place. We're going fairly far north. We won't go up to the North Slope, but if you see where it says the Northwest Arctic, just look over to the right a bit more, and that's where we're going to be going. Yeah, this is pretty great. And when you go, yeah, that's pretty much it. So thank you, Emily. That was great. Any other questions? Because I don't want to keep you all too long. Let me also share my email with you in case you think of something later and you want to reach out to me. Okay. Feel free to reach out to me at any time, or if you want to check in and just say, hey, I know I really want to go, but I want to know how many spaces are left in the class. I had a lot of students do this with me last year, and as the numbers got tighter and tighter, I would usually let people know, hey, there are only 2 spots left in the class. And I might reach out to someone, and then they would go and grab it, because that can be helpful. Right now, it's only October. Typically, well, this is not a normal year though. Yeah, typically I would be filled by November 1st, but I think we may have a little more time than that. Yeah. Do you have any questions, Sarah? Anybody else? Amber or Mary Catherine? Emma? I'll see you in class on Friday, so you can always ask me. All right, well, I think we can wrap this up then if you all don't have any more questions. Thank you again so much. And I really hope that I see you all in our Alaska class and that we are traveling on that train together and hanging out in the Denali cabins and whitewater rafting and biking, and then that we get to the Arctic Circle together. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And I hope you copied all the information that's in the chat bar so that you have that in case you have any other questions. And Megan, did you give them your email as well?
Yeah, my email is in the chat. And also if you go to the link that I provided for the application, the program brochure, my email is on that. And so is Professor Giglio's as well. So you can always access it that way as well.
That's great. All right. Well, have a great evening. And I hope to see you in May or the April if we start a class. Okay. All right. Bye, you all. Have a great evening. Thank you.